So I recently had a conversation with someone from YouTube actually, who found me and reached out and wanted to chat about whether waiting is a good idea to buy real estate or whether buying now is a good idea. And I'm gonna go over what we talked about in this video. And by the way, right now I'm at City Island Park. This is Ken Thompson Park right behind me. In the far back is the Sarasota, Florida skyline. It's really beautiful, the downtown skyline. Really beautiful, but I'm gonna take a walk here and let's go over what it is that we talked about, because we have this situation that is full of uncertainty. If you're thinking about buying right now, let's just say you can rent again or you can buy it. What choice should you make? Well, let's go over a few scenarios, because a lot of signs in the economy are pointing to that we're gonna have a problem, that we are actually in a recession right now. And recession is, very often led by job losses, but we are not having job losses, we're having job growth. There's a little bit of contradictory information right now. So if we continue having job growth, then theoretically the economy should not go into a recession, which means that there's no need to do anything with interest rates. So if we keep having good jobs report, then we should expect to, continue everything the way it is. Interest rates about 7.5%, making home ownership pretty expensive, but not too expensive where nobody's buying, because we definitely have a lot of people still buying. And a lot of people are selling, and then there's just more that want to sell that are not selling their homes, so our inventory is growing. But then again, our inventory is not so high that it's going to cause all the prices to crash and come down. At least not yet. And it could lead to that, right? So scenario one is if we just keep the rates higher because we're trying to fight inflation. Okay, that's what the current administration is doing. They're keeping the interest rates high, and they're currently planned to have a rate cut in September, maybe another one a little later in the year. Do I think it's gonna happen? Probably not, and if we do, it's gonna be like 0.25% for a short time, then it's gonna go back up again. That's just my, best guess. I'm no economist though. So if we stay where we are, then slowly our inventory is going to keep rising, most likely, which will cause eventual price reductions. But where is it that maybe it won't drop? Where is it that the prices, won't come down because inventory is not going to be big enough? Well, it's funny. If our inventory stays where it's at, then prices are most likely not going to come down. If our inventory goes up, then maybe our prices will go down. So you as a buyer, here's the real question you should ask is, do I think I'm going to get a lower payment, right? As a buyer, are you going to get a payment that's more affordable than it is today? I guess I don't know the future, but if our interest rates go down, it seems like the answer will be yes, because you're going to be able to buy a house with a lower interest rate, and therefore your payments should be lower. Theoretically, and here's why I say theoretically, is because what happens when interest rates go down, let's just say they go down to 4%, what's going to happen? All these people sitting on the sidelines, just like you, are going to go and buy something, and then there's going to be less homes for sale. So unless you're one of the first people to make that decision, you're going to be left, on the backside of that conversation. You're going to be left with a home that you don't love, and you're going to have a good interest rate, and great, but maybe you'll wait too long where prices have gone up. On the flip side is the other situation that could happen, is that interest rates go up. Now this is going to be a big shakeup to the entire real estate industry. You see, if we have interest rates go up, let's just say 2% more, then we're probably going to be in a situation where there's going to be some pretty good opportunities. It does not mean there's going to be tons of homes for sale. It does not mean that. It doesn't mean that there's going to be lots and lots of 50 cents on the dollar. It's not going to be that. The hedge funds are going to buy all that stuff. All the giant companies that are competing with us for real estate are going to buy the best deals. But if interest rates go up, let's just say to 12%, then only the people that really have to sell are going to sell, because the rest of them, they don't need to sell. They're not going to be trading a 4 or 5 or even 6% interest rate for a 12% interest rate. And the prices won't be going up either. So the people that have equity right now, let's just say you have $200,000 worth of equity in your home and you have a 4% interest rate. When the interest rates go up, you're going to be losing some of your equity because you're going to have a lot more homes for sale that you're competing with, so the prices naturally are going to go lower. So what are you going to do? You lose on the interest rate and you lose on the equity. I mean, you're just not going to move. That's what's going to happen. A lot of people are just not going to move. Now, I will suggest one thing you might want to sell subject to. If you don't know what sub 2 is, look it up. Selling a home sub 2, Pace Morby. Do that search online. But what's it really going to take for inventory now to go up? And why do you want it to go up? Because you want a deal, right? Well, obviously, I just mentioned interest rates. If interest rates spike to, 10, 12%, some inventory will go up, but it's not going to be anything crazy like the Great Recession was. Not at all. Because we don't have the same problems as we had in the Great Recession just 15 years ago. We're going to have a spike up, and people are going to come in and sweep up those homes. Even at 12%, it's just going to be the cash buyers, that's all. They're going to go and acquire the property. May I give you a suggestion? Think about it like this. If you need a house, go buy a house and pay your 7.5%, even if you're a horrible credit and you're paying 8%, or you get a down payment assistance program and you're coming into a home with very little money out of pocket. If you qualify for the loan, pay that 8%, get your down payment money, and buy a house. Because if we get into that scenario where the interest rates fall, you're going to be able to lower your interest rate. You're going to be able to do a refinance, and don't do a cash out refi, okay? Just don't do that. I think it might be too risky right now with the way the prices are. So just go and buy it and then pay your mortgage every month instead of paying rent. I mean, is that really difficult to understand? It's a strategy that works for a lot of people, and it definitely will be the get-rich-slow game. And I am an advocate of the get-rich-slow game. But the amount of money you can save by waiting is nominal. It's such a small amount. So if you wait and you're just waiting for that 5% interest rate, not only are you not going to have a lot of homes to pick from, so it's not going to be your dream home, but also you're going to be competing with all the other people that were sitting on the sidelines that are going to come and get the best homes first. And yes, you could actually lock it up with, a lower interest rate for the longer point in time, but you could also just refinance as long as it appraises. So what's the point of waiting? I don't understand. The only situation that I can think of where it's a good idea to rent is if your job just keeps moving you around. Because sometimes they don't actually pay for your down payment or all your relocation costs. And if they do, are they going to pay, the 10% or 9% that it's going to cost you to sell a home? Probably not. So that's not necessarily the best time to buy, is when you have a job that relocates you every year or two and your whole family. But if you want to secure yourself a little further, because what I said still doesn't make sense or maybe isn't really the most ideal scenario, then consider buying a duplex, a triplex, or a quadplex. Especially if you're young, especially if you're single, especially if you don't have children. Just buy something that's going to be more of an income producer. You see, you're going to spend a little bit more. So if you go to a mortgage lender and they tell you that you're qualified for $250,000, well, you're not going to be able to buy a multifamily for $250,000. So what that lender is going to tell you is that if you buy a multi and it's going to bring you some rental income, that rental income is going to go towards your totally monthly obligations that you can afford with the housing component. So in a nutshell, it's simple. If you can only qualify for a $400,000 home, you might actually qualify for a $550,000 on a duplex, or $650,000 on a triplex, or $800,000 on a quadplex. It really depends on the rent income, the numbers, which unit you're going to be living in. And I highly recommend you try to go that route, because this channel is about trying to help you to figure out the entire real estate game and how to play it, and also what to watch out for. And I got started with getting into a property that had 4 bedrooms, and I rented out 2 bedrooms almost immediately, and I lived in the other 2 bedrooms. Honestly, it kind of happened by fluke, and I'm so glad that I went that route, because now I own numerous small multifamily properties, and I know one day I'm going to get into, $20, $30, $40 million large multifamily properties. Obviously, I can't live in those because those are commercial loans, and all the rules are a little bit different. But in order to kind of house hack, I do recommend you go and you try to get something that's a duplex, triplex, quadplex, anything that's small multifamily. Oh wow, look at this. When it comes to buying, I know what I'm doing is I'm paying attention for an opportunity. That's it. Something that the numbers make sense for me and my family situation. I'm not buying a primary residence anytime soon, but if the right one comes up, maybe I will. I don't have any plans on buying multifamily right now, but if one comes up, I definitely will. And you should look at it the same way, because if you're young enough, and I'm 45, I'm no young buck here, but if you're young enough to last through 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 decades, then you definitely should be getting into ownership of real estate. And quite frankly, in my opinion, as many as you can. Just don't over leverage everything. That's the mistake that I made back in the Great Recession. I over leveraged, and that was indeed a mistake. So this time around, I'm not over leveraging, and I like to buy wedge deals. You know, wedge deals are ones where you kind of end up having automatically 25-30% equity in the property. How do you find those? Very carefully. You have to do a lot of research, you have to do a lot of digging, you have to do a lot of searching and looking at a lot of properties. And I understand that most people are not willing to do that. It's a lot easier to just go out there and complain and say, oh, housing is too expensive. Oh, there's nothing out there for sale that I like. Oh, there's nothing, blah, blah, blah. Stop your complaining and just know that if you want it, you're gonna go get it. And quite frankly, no one really cares about your complaining. So stop complaining about it, because the real estate market is going through a turmoil right now, and turmoil is like the best time to get into investing.